Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Doug the Efficient. Welcome to Engagement. So, if you've ever been here before, you know that Engagement is the place where me, Doug the Efficient, also known as Doug the Foodie, connect with you. We started this during COVID to have conversations, and in which the dictionary says engagement is coming together to have a meeting or a chit chat. And I do love a meeting and a chit chat. For me, it also means during the spring, or we call wedding season, a time to come together and talk about wedding professionals, pros that I have worked with in the wedding industry that I would vouch for, that I would recommend. And today is no different. Today we have a great photographer. She is a joy to work with. When I show up at a wedding and she is there, I run right to her. She gets a big hug and a giggle and usually a selfie. And she is a great, not only friend, but photographer. So that person I'm talking about today is no other than Cindy June from Cindy June Photography. And I've got her waiting in the back room right here. Let's bring her in all suntanned and relaxed from vacation. Hey, girl.
Hi, Doug. Thanks
How's
for
it going?
having me.
It's always a pleasure. I remember when I first started this is my third year of doing the wedding shows. I reached out to you and I said, hey, I'm going to do this broadcast online and it's COVID and I want to talk to people about weddings and would you be on? You could not say yes fast enough.
Well, why not?
Well, it's
We're
your
a bunch
style.
of professionals trying to teach the public on what we do.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Exactly.
And you're creating a great platform for that.
Well, it's fun for me. I like to talk to people, and it's I booked this on a Wednesday because I didn't have any reason to drink on a Wednesday. Now I do. So,
They call it Wine Wednesday.
right? There you go. There you go. So I have to tell people when I show up at a wedding, and I'm not lying, I'm not blowing smoke. I don't do that. When I show up at a wedding, no matter how hot it is or how sweaty I am or how fast I had to drive down the highway to get to a wedding that you're at, it relaxes me when I see you there. And there's always sometimes a sweaty hug because I know the last time I saw you, I drove really fast. The wedding before mine was a little bit snug, and I saw you, and I apologize that you're going to get a sweaty hug, but you got a hug nonetheless. And you and I giggle, and away we go, and make magic. Which, let's face it, folks. I mean, we don't wear cloaks and have wands, but some of us make magic. So that sounds really conceited, but I mean, when you think about it,
because when you actually are as happy to be at the weddings as the two of us, because we're loving the party and being part of their big event, you're just like high energy like they are, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get like-minded professionals that are all there because they love wedding photography, love being part of the special day, being there for those moments, feeling the love of the families, then that energy feeds in the room, right? And
absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah. I think all the vendors Chatham-Kent has, we are so flippin' blessed because they are an amazing group of vendors.
Yeah.
And it makes our jobs easy because it is so fun when you get to see all the vendors that work together.
Yeah.
And they are all friends and we do all work together and we have a blast together.
Yep. And a lot of us that have repeat relationships at weddings on any given Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, because we do a lot of weekend and Friday weddings. We know sort of what to expect. Like that Doug is going to pull his phone out of his pocket after they sign
and make us all laugh.
But yeah, so you kind of you've seen the inside into sanctum and you know what to expect. But I want to find folks to know more about you because you have a lot of depth and breadth in what you do. Now, I have a lot of the images that you've produced, and I've of course creeped your Facebook page because that's what I do at Cindy June Photography, and found a lot of images that you do that are very different. They're not, you don't just do, rustic outdoor or woodland farm or downtown glam. you have an ability to do it all. I mean, there you, you have a style, yes, but can we define that style? No. I think it's professional, classy, sharp, uh, and always on point. So there's some really cool shots I want to show. So let's start. This one here.
Okay.
Now,
I don't know what shots he's gonna show, just saying.
We love this couple. Trust me, we love this couple.
Oh, yes. Okay, like, look at Doug's face in that. That like, you have to tell the story of the day, and that photo tells a complete story to me. Like,
This,
anyone who sees that can say, "Your face is calming down that nervous bride," because they were both nervous. Actually, the groom was really nervous, remember that wedding?
yeah. A lot of
And
grooms come to
yeah.
me, and just before the bride comes down the aisle, it's not uncommon for them to sort of lean into me. If you have shots of me whispering to a lot of grooms or them whispering to me, and it's not uncommon for them to say to me, "I think I'm going to throw up."
Yep. He was
Or
really
my
nervous.
favorite line, cover your ears, kids, "I think I'm going to shit my pants." It's all going to
I've never had to capture that, and thank
You
God.
don't want
Or
to.
I don't know that I
No,
have had
no,
to.
no. I just want a warning so I can get it out of the way. But it's a nervous moment.
Mm.
And this couple knew that they're going to be very on edge. They knew that, we're on the edge of COVID. It was a big day. It was a very important moment for the two of them.
And the rain clouds were coming in that day.
Yeah.
Remember that? They were
Just to make it
because
more
of the
fun.
weather. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be, a photographer, officiant, and meteorologist all at once.
Mhm.
But this couple here, they asked for, I actually think I suggested it. We had drinks one night, and I said, well, what if we did a little snort at the top of the service? Just the three of us, not for the whole crowd, just the three of us, calm your nerves, take the edge off. And they loved it. And that's what we did. And it was great. It was a lot
And
of
the
fun.
crowd loved it. They just were because you were telling the story of the two of them, right? And that's what's important is getting to know your couples. Because
Yeah.
when you get to know your couples, they enjoy the company of like the photographer, the
Mhm.
officiant through the day because they feel like they have a rapport already with you. And
Absolutely.
because you are
Yeah.
really a big part of what's going on that day. Like they remember who's part of their whole day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's right. You're with them all day, and it's a very
Mhm.
important part of the day. And it's a very energy fueled moment or
Mhm.
portion of the day. I can't tell you how many couples after we get done the wedding portion, we step aside and we sign the registry and the license, and they all look at me and they go, oh, oh. I asked them, how do you feel? Was that good? Was that what you wanted? Yeah, that's perfect. It was bang on. I feel much more relaxed now. And I try to get a giggle out of them at the top of the service when they get down front after we have a moment to capture our breath. And when they have a little laugh, their shoulders round out and they feel a little more grounded and they're ready to happen along the way of getting
Mhm.
married. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
but yeah, and you capture that and you capture some very intimate moments,
Mhm.
some very spontaneous moments. From the ring right here,
Mhm.
as couples get rings, which is very, very important.
Mhm.
I always say to the girls, or the guys too, because some guys are getting rings as well. Like it's jewelry day. You're getting some
Mhm.
jewelry and a little
Mm.
bling. So I always get to get the ring first and hold on to it and feel the love and the warmth in it before I pass it over to them. But you capture that every time. You also capture the emotion. Here's a great shot
Mhm.
of a
Mhm.
groom just hanging on
Mhm.
as it is. And you capture that. You get to zoom
Mhm.
in and be there,
Mhm.
and you have a lot of photographers, yourself included, have a second shooter. So you
Mhm.
can focus on one area and your second shooter can focus on something entirely different. And you're
Mhm.
going to get it all. You're going to capture all of it. So it's very, very cool. So how did you get started doing photography?
So I kind of come from like more of a landscape background and just kind of grew up hanging out with a bunch of friends, hiking and enjoying nature and just playing with cameras.
Mhm.
Um, then as I grew up having like a child, I was shooting pictures of him and getting compliments on them. and people were slowly asking me to capture photos for themselves. And I said, I am just a hobbyist. I'm not a trained photographer.
Mhm.
And as that was happening more often, I decided actually to go and study photography. There's so much in-depth knowledge that you need to know as far as being able to use like complicated lighting and
Mhm.
walking into dark venues and knowing how to troubleshoot that and how to work with the equipment. It is complicated. And then once you become confident in the tools that you're using, then you get to go back to what brought you into photography to start with, that love for the moment of a bird or hiking with friends in nature or looking for laughter and fun, because the gear becomes then just a tool to tell the story of what you do. So once I got the education and got confident with the photography, then the images started coming, and it's just been, I haven't looked back. I've been looking forward, and education's never stopping. I'm always training and doing conferences and working with mentorships and things like that, just to stay sharp and keep up on the changing equipment, because everything now is shifting again. Everything's mirrorless, and off camera lighting is now like syncs quickly, and different things change at all times. So it's just staying on top of that, and then being there to look through the moment, camera on guard all day. When your camera's down, you're missing something cool. So
Absolutely.
instead of one shot for the vows, I'm just constantly looking, because that's when you get, oh, he's going to wipe a tear, or that's when you get her looking at him. And those moments are what gets the bride reliving the feelings they had for their wedding day, instead of just what their dress looked like and what their flowers looked like. When you're capturing the moments, they're reliving how they felt that day. And that's important to me. Like,
Absolutely.
I find they usually actually love those images more. And even sometimes behind the scenes, like there'll be times in the wedding that the bride and groom, I'm not even worrying about. They're over there saying goodbye to a couple guests, and I'm scanning the room like, oh my goodness, look at the uncle like on the dance floor. I'm grabbing
Yeah.
this shit. And then later they're like, that happened? Like, Cindy, I didn't even know that was going on. And I'm like, exactly. That's
Yeah.
why you hired me, to
Exactly.
tell the story of the day when you were busy.
Yeah.
And so you can reenact what your wedding day was. So
Yep.
it's
I
kind
have
of fun.
I have scoured a number. You've sent me some files in the last few weeks that I would. You won't see them on here today, but where the couples during the service, you've captured their laughter, right? And it's a full guffaw. It's like their head back, mouth open, laughing because of either the script I've said or their vows have shared or what have you. And you've not only captured the moment. I'm talking about the Smith wedding, actually.
Mhm.
The bride and groom both laughing hysterically during the service.
Mhm.
And then
You were funny at that one.
I tried it. I
You were
try.
always funny, but that one was
I
funny.
try. But at the same time, you captured in the front row the mom and dad,
Mhm.
laughing at
Oh,
something that
yeah.
was very,
I
very
always love
poignant.
looking at parents, like the first 2 rows. I love glancing there,
Yeah.
because you'll get like grandma holding grandpa's hand,
Yeah.
or dad has his arm around mom, and maybe they
Right.
don't do that all the time, but they're
No.
so proud that they're like leaning into each other.
Mhm.
And those are going to be special images that they're going to be like hold on to, maybe not even like this year, 6 months, like, but down the road, they're going to be
Yeah.
like, our parents created this happiness in our family, and now I'm seeing it on my wedding day. And like,
Yeah.
that's why photography is fun.
It's very true. It's very true. But you do capture it. I mean, you also have to pose some to some degree. Well,
Mhm.
I'll show some pose ones as well. But this one here is not pose. It's pure energy and love and laughter. And this great couple down the aisle, smiling, happy, thrilled that they're now Mr. and Mrs. And you capture that. You catch that
Mhm.
moment. So
Mhm.
that's profoundly important. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then contrast that with some that are a little more fun and not necessarily staged, but you give them the direction to do or to be or to sit here or stand here. I love this shot, and I didn't do this wedding, but I love this shot.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
the groom looks like he's having the time of his life.
I was like joking with him. He
Yeah,
was nervous. So I'm like joking with him. And she doesn't
yeah,
even know what we're talking about, but you can tell on his face that I said something. Right. But it just makes it.
it does, it does.
Yeah.
So, um, And then, I mean, to capture the whole day is it's so much work, like from beginning to end, and getting the moments before they're dressed and when they're dressed and when they, you know, eagerly waiting to walk down the aisle, or the moments when they're between the service where they have some time to be alone for the first time as husband and wife, and
Mhm.
whether you have them, along the tree lined road to chat, and you capture it from a distance, and they still have their privacy and their
Mhm.
time to express their love, but you still get to capture it through the lens, which is
Mhm.
is what you do very, very well.
Mhm.
um I really love this picture. This is so much fun.
Oh god, that was fun. And it was cold that day, like, that's like ice,
Oh my
um,
god.
and yeah, in Grand Bend on the beach, and it was cold, and I had to
Yeah.
keep them because they were a little bit looped because it was, we did those photos because I wanted to be there on sunset, so now they've been having some drinks with supper, and
Yep.
so I'm like, "I need to keep these guys from not climbing over those snow
Those
caps and
dunes. Yeah.
falling through them," because,
Yeah.
how they're saying on the news not to go there, so they wanted to have fun. The guys were done. The groom and bride wanted to be there, but the rest were done. So I grabbed a beer, stuck it there, and I said, "We're gonna have a game right now." And I put it in and then they were all attentive. They did as I told, as like I was getting them to get the pose shots I wanted, and
Nice.
then also capturing some fun, right? To
Nice. Well,
play into the character of guys that I was working with. And we
and
had a good time.
it's important. I mean, when people find a professional that were professionals that they're going to work with, is that they connect, that they vibe with them, because if you didn't vibe with that couple, you wouldn't be able to get them to do that. You wouldn't be able to get them to
Mhm,
play. You wouldn't be able to
mhm,
get them to trust you. And it's no different for me with couples,
mhm,
to get them you know energized and feel secure and safe, and that's extremely, extremely important. So um I don't think the guys get enough attention some days. Now, I don't know if you know this, but back when I was probably 17, 18, because I'm a student of photography as well, I
mhm.
used to shoot weddings.
Oh, you did?
I was a wedding
You should
photographer.
come second one with me.
I loved it.
It
But
is fun.
we're talking C41 film, right? And I've told the story before. And so you hope that your exposure was right, and that your aperture was good, and that you captured it. Um, and I remember a lot of weddings back in the day were in churches. Only 5% of weddings happen in church now. Now the
Mhm.
rest are in barns, backyards, and beaches. And I remember during the prayers, I would be like praying that my photos turned out. Because you
Yep,
didn't know, like
dark churches, yep.
well, you don't know, like you have to wait for
Yeah,
send it to the lab and hope that they look
yep.
good. You can't retake it, but now you could be so much more freewheeling and have so much more fun, but still be technically sound and get
Mhm,
the images that you need,
mhm,
with the resolution that you want,
mhm.
and make something beautiful for them to hang on to. So the guys never used to not look at my bad English, used to not get enough airtime, but I love that you do a lot with the guys, like this one here,
Mhm. Mhm. Like,
backlit.
they were having a blast.
Yeah, it's bro time, right?
Yep, yep.
And that's important to get the guys together and get an image and make a memory, because
And
those
make
are
it look creative and interesting.
yeah.
Like, that's a photo they would, because I find it fun when you're playing with lighting that you know the image you're trying to get, but they have no clue
No,
what you're
they have to
taking
trust
because
you.
they don't see the world how a photographer can do
No,
it with lighting, right?
yeah.
So it makes it a lot of fun to be able to produce an image like that, give it to them, and they're like, "That's why you were hiding behind us?" Or, "That's why you had that light on a boom and you were
Yeah,
telling Lauren to move it lower?" Like, and it's
yeah.
fun when they see the picture and they're like, "Oh." Like,
Uh-huh,
yeah,
yeah. No,
it's
a
yeah.
light truly goes on for them,
Mhm,
so yeah.
mhm,
But speaking of sort of off-camera lighting, like, you do some great stuff with it. So this one here is another one of my favorites.
mhm.
Really shows off the dress, the sky, the
And I
magnitude.
love the retro suites, but when you have the parking lot there if you can shoot them in a highlight, you can kill, because you know that's filled with
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
So you can bring that stuff into darkness and
Yep.
then show off. I was trying to show off the sky, and you don't get a great sunset there because the mall blocks it.
Right.
So you got to get so low, trying to get the highlight behind them, and then adding a little bit of light and trying to get the sky, right?
Mhm.
Then, yeah.
So you bring up a really strong point that you know where I'm going to go with this. It is not uncomfortable. I giggle easily. I am,
Mhm.
I am not stone cold at all. Um, I have to really command my maturity. Maturity. I can't even
Yeah,
spell
you're good at
maturity
that.
when I'm doing a wedding that you're shooting, because it's not uncommon for me to look down the pipe, down the aisle, and there you are on your belly, rolling around on dirt or whatever
I
it is.
always wear pants at weddings.
Yes, it's not a dress.
But I'm usually filthy.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm filthy.
yeah. I remember the very first time I saw you and you were laying on your belly getting a shot. I paused, but I got right back to the script because I thought, this girl is nuts. But
it's
you do it for a
worth
reason.
Yes, yes.
You do. You do.
If you shoot low, saving at a church, what you're doing is you're taking all of the audience out of the shot, and you can then focus only on the bride and groom because you're now shooting up and now the heads are gone, and it can make some really interesting shots where you just see the architecture of some churches. Like there's some beautiful
gorgeous.
churches.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're not afraid to get down
But
there
that's
and
why
get
we
dirty.
do that crazy
Yeah.
stuff.
And
I'm not really trying to make you laugh, but
well, it's
kind of
working.
fun. You're probably laughing at me trying to get up with all the cameras holstered and
I
with
just
no
see it
hands
and
because
I
I'm
just
holding stuff.
now I'm so used to it. It's like, oh, there goes
Yeah.
Cindy June. She's
Yeah.
gonna. But I don't see that by you know what? And I know a lot of photographers, and I'm not throwing shade at all, but I don't see that from too many photographers. So good for you to damage your dry cleaning bill by rolling around in the dirt. So
The worst is wet grass, but I've done it. I always bring extra
of course you
clothes.
have. Yeah, of course you have. Another dramatic shot, which I love this one here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, I wanted to tell the story of, if anyone's been to Morehouse Estates, they have these really interesting carriage houses, carts that are, but I wanted to tell the story that you're at Morehouse Estates, but not like the marketing you'd see of their business on Facebook. Like, and they do have those photos as well.
Yeah.
But to me, that's something that's like, or else to me, that photo, all you'd see is a white carriage. And I wanted to see the sky, right?
Yeah.
So I shot it that way so you could see the silhouette of the carriage, and then them in an interesting way, right?
You do.
And I always like to, every wedding I shoot, I like to take their sunset, because sunsets for some reason are special to me. And I want them to know what their sunset looked like on their wedding day. That's why I do that. Some of them are not as good as others. Like you've seen the retro suites, it's dark, but still interesting.
Yeah.
Elmhurst Inn, that one. There's so many buildings, it's hard to get a cool sunset, but if you shoot low enough, you can get the interesting peaks of the buildings and then get the sky. I don't know. I like skies, and I just want people to remember, like, if your anniversary, no matter if you're in Rome this year or you're in Niagara Falls or you're just in your backyard at a campground, it's cool to be able to look back up and what's our sunset look like this year? Like, I don't know. Sunsets are special to me. You'll always get them.
You capture it.
Yeah.
And you're great at doing silhouettes. This is a great silhouette here as well.
Yeah.
Again,
that was in the middle of a road. So it's like, where can I go to get low enough to get a silhouette? Oh, I like these trees. They're kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to lay on the middle of the road. Someone spot the
there you are. Again, on the middle of the road, laying down. You're hilarious. So yeah, I mean, it's having that eye, being able to capture it, and being, sort of in the know of what's going to happen, and capturing it and being ready for it. Like this one here. This is a great capture of, right?
Yes. Look at her face.
I know.
And I like how he's looking at her. Like, it's just great.
It's like he knew when she didn't, and the confetti's coming
down.
And
I had to shoot dark like that because I loved what they were doing with that purple light on the backdrop.
Yeah.
And if I didn't shoot dark, I wasn't seeing that purple. And to me, that just makes the picture, like seeing like because people pay a lot of money for their lighting and decor. And
Mhm.
so I really wanted to shoot in a way that it wouldn't look like the guest took it with their cell phone. Like, that's
Right.
always my thing. I'm like, your pictures won't look like someone with a cell phone took them,
Uh-huh.
because
Very true.
cell phones are getting good. They're going to
They're
soon put us out of a
very,
business if we don't shoot in an interesting way, right?
yeah.
Because they are very
Apple's
good.
got some really good
Yeah.
technology going
Yeah.
on. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you spend a lot of money on decor, and you want to make sure that you remember it. It shouldn't. I mean, yes, it's a backdrop. Yes, it's important to have, and yes, if it wasn't there, you'd notice it wasn't there. But we have become so accustomed to having all the poshness of it all, and you still want to have it remembered and captured in your photograph some way, somehow. Even if it's just, again, more background for your photos. So you have a lot of great tips and tricks. You've seen a lot of weddings. So let's do a little interlude here, and we'll come back and talk about some tips and tricks for weddings. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our tips and tricks and our entire wedding series is sponsored by a little company called With This Ring. Well, I think one of Chatham's premier wedding celebrants, and I know it's one of your favorites too, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's important to have some professionals around you that can give you some tips and some tricks and some ideas that maybe they've seen or heard of, because a lot of us in the industry are we're always studying something, we're always getting more information. So Cindy, what kind of tip or trick do you have for our viewers?
Well, when it comes to photography for weddings, I think the biggest thing, people get too worked up about having every detail right, making sure the wedding it's going to rain that day or it's going to snow. They just have to trust that the professionals you work with don't care. The
Yeah.
day you get for your wedding is the day that happened on your wedding. It's your start of your history book. Like, I've shot weddings in full downpour rain, and I have an SUV pulled up with my hood of my SUV, and I'm standing under that, and I've got them under a tarp that people are holding, and you wouldn't know. Or we're standing under tree cover with umbrellas, and I'm getting soaked, but it doesn't matter. You have to work with people that have experience, that are not worried if it's full sun on a shiny beach, or in a snowstorm and it's windy, because we know we can tuck under that tree line, or we can put up a tarp over above them, and we bring umbrellas and we have all this, and get less concerned about us not being able to capture your day. We're going to capture your day, because your day is going to happen.
Yeah.
And your day is unique to your wedding. And there's no right and wrong in anyone's wedding. It's your story. And your story can be your bridesmaid crying in the crying, but believe me, I'm going to be hiding behind something trying to get that picture, because I want you to remember that she was crying, because it makes your day more fun. Or uncle was passed out at a table. So what if uncle's passed out of a table? Like, how funny is that? Like, let your day be, and then let us capture it in a really cool, interesting way, and then reenact that day and celebrate that it was fun, unique to the two of you. Everything was perfect in its own special way, because your day is your day. And just enjoy the day. Let it ride. Let the stress not be yours, and let us professionals, just trust that your professionals you take on know how to handle any scenario. We've done it all, other than I please don't ever want to fall off a bridge and drop both cameras in the water. Good thing I have a third in the bag, but but at the end of the day, none of those things matter.
Right.
Just
this is the day you've got.
Cold beach. They're miserable. Let's make a game of it and get their blood pressure up a bit, and they'll be a little warmer. Trust that who you're getting knows how to work in those scenarios, and is keep going to push through. Make sure you're having fun. I've had brides in my personal car with the air conditioned cranked, go in my car for 5 minutes, put your dress over my vents. Okay, cool her down, bring her back out. Let me shoot her for 5 more minutes, get her back in the air because she wants to tap out because she's so hot. But like I make them do it and then they thank me later and said, thank you, because I was ready to tap out. I'm glad you weren't. How the hell did you not tap
Yeah.
out, Cindy? And I'm like, because I'm having fun and I don't care about the weather.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So
It
yeah,
is what
bringing
it
people
is.
that care. Like same with you, you're sweating and
Oh yeah.
you still have a jacket on,
Yep.
but you're still having fun because
Yep.
they're
I bring out
picking
my micro
people.
towel and I
They're
wipe
people,
off
yeah.
myself and the
They're picking
groom
people
usually.
that care about being at that wedding as much as they do.
Yeah,
Right. And that's
exactly.
important is
Yeah.
finding people who enjoy what they do.
Yeah,
And yeah.
exactly.
So,
And that's
and
key is
yeah.
finding the professionals that love what they do because they will strive and exceed your wildest expectations. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I would say, yeah, to that, it's important to have to relax into a lot of this. But if you have photos that you really want, like you and grandma, get them out of the way early. Give your photographer a click list so they can get those shots. So then you can just, relax a little bit and enjoy the day. And, I have had a lot of weddings where I really wonder if the photographer is truly capturing the moments. There's nothing wrong with being a single shooter. Two shooters just makes it a little bit better. But photographers that are still shooting from the very back of the last row have a really great lens because they're going to miss. Everything's going to be just landscape large, right? So, tell them what you want. Show them your style. Create a Pinterest page so they can see what it is you want. And I hear all the time from couples that say, well, and you probably heard this too, Cindy. Well, you did the wedding for my brother, or you photographed my brother's wedding. And it was great. It was really them. But they're usually afraid to say, but I don't want that. I want something entirely different. And so instead of going in a different direction, finding a different professional that you may not be as connected to, tell your professional, you did my brother's wedding and it was great. I am not my brother. I don't want any of that. I want this. Right?
And that's important. That's very
really
important. It's
really
very important. Yeah.
Because I know for me, when I do like the Smith wedding that we showed earlier, I did the sister's wedding and I did the brother's wedding. They were nothing alike. And they didn't ask for that. That's just the way I work.
Yeah.
I knew what script I wrote for the sister, and the brother's script was flipped on its edge. So ask your professionals. And if you know them and they've done work for you and your family trusts them and you've seen the work, don't shy away from them just because you want something entirely different. Ask them for something different. Right?
That's very, very true. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
you go to them because they are capable of being a photographer, because they have the background, the education, the training. And then it's a couple's, and we sit down and do bridal consults and meet face to face with people. COVID was harder because it did become a little more Zoom calls and phones. I'm still a person who likes to sit in a room with someone, because the more you get to know who they are, the more you can make the wedding have a vibe that's what they would like, right?
Exactly.
And the more they can be comfortable around you is the more you're going to see who they are as a person too.
Exactly.
And shooting through moments that aren't posed. Like a lot of those photos you were showing are not posed. It's me just capturing what's going on that day. So their wedding does look like them because that's what they did.
Because that's them.
You know what? And that's what they did. And the portrait type of things that are composed shots, standing in a field with the beautiful trees. We talk about who you are as a person. If you have extreme allergies, I don't want to put you standing in a wheat field. So they need to communicate that. Or if you hate if you hate rustic barns, please tell me before I suggest a place with barns. You know what I mean? Because it is completely, I shot at one time when I first started, I was in Windsor and we went into a comic book store and shot pictures of the bride and groom in a comic book store because they were into that stuff. Right.
Nice.
And it was a really cool backdrop in a wedding dress. So you just gotta portray who you are, right?
Mm. Yeah. And knowing you're professional can really help you out as well. This doesn't always happen, but this happened with you. I don't blame you for this because it turned out really well. But your photographer sometimes knows who you should have as other professionals. And we had a couple, the Clarks, that reached out to me and they said, "Can you do our wedding? We're told you're the best, you're the guy." And I said, "I'm sorry, I don't have you. Your time schedule doesn't fit into my day, and I do multiples in a day." And that was that. They moved on, and then they kept bugging you, and I got a call from you one night. I'm sitting with the Clarks, and they really want you to do their wedding.
And you loved them, weren't they? Fun?
I love them.
No, I knew you were the one.
You're right. But all it took was moving their wedding. I think it was half an hour to an hour. Up. That was it.
And I'm just like, he is so busy, but like your personality totally was their personality. Don't you agree?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Who they were about, you would just vibed with them. And
absolutely.
And to this day, they'd be like, "Doug, come on over."
They sent me a picture. She said, "This is one of my favorite wedding pictures." And it was a picture of me walking up to the wedding with a red Solo cup.
I've never taken that one.
But this is them. And,
And so you were suited for them. And I'm like, I'm getting you him. He will do this for me.
You worked me hard. Yeah, and it worked. So yeah, it's important. So all of these tips and tricks are going to be in the downloadable wedding planning guide that I'm creating right now. And you'll see some more of the great photography that Cindy does, like this one here. This is also the Clarks. I love that shot.
Yeah, that was
but
quite a sky to get to.
That's
so dark because there's rain.
I know.
So I'm like, I'd like multiple lights shooting the barn and multiple lights behind me shooting the bride and groom, so I could shoot enough to get the sky.
Yeah, that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
People also should know you do other things than just weddings. You do, like, behind you can see some baby shots.
I'm in my studio. Yeah.
I mean, here's another gorgeous baby shot, right? Or maybe it's a family.
Yeah.
In their element. It's just important to know that you do a lot more with that, because sometimes it starts the wedding, right? They get married, then they have a baby, then they have a family. They want portraits to capture all of that, and to have someone that and trust will capture what you're looking for, like Cindy, is extremely important, extremely valuable. So now I've mentioned on all of the episodes, this is our 8th episode. This is season 7 of me doing this, sitting in this chair, drinking some vino and talking to people.
Yeah.
3rd year of doing the wedding show and bringing these expos and pros to you. And I've been talking about the guide that I'm producing, and I haven't shown this to anyone, so it's only appropriate I show it to you first.
Yay!
Here's a sample of the cover.
Are you kidding? You picked mine?
I kid you not.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, that's amazing. You're picking mine.
I love this shot. I love this shot.
That's so cool. That's so great. Yes, like look at her hair.
I know. Twirling. You can't see her smiling, but you know she is.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you, Doug.
Perfect. It's perfect. I'm honored to work with you because it's always fun.
Oh, we have a blast.
So you've shot a lot of weddings that I've been at. And you always capture some great images, and they're always, you never know what to expect. So you rise to the challenge and make sure that you capture, the tears and the laughs, and it's always great when I get tagged in photos. I'm like, oh, this will be good. This is one of Cindy's. This will be great. So I was thrilled to have you on the cover, and you'll also find other photos that you've approved on the inside of this guide. So it's sort of turned into a bit of a monster. I think we're up to about 12 pages right now.
That's so great.
But it's all the stuff that that professionals like you and I live for, and the tips and the tricks and the checklist that people need. So we have we're very fortunate to have a job where we get to help people navigate a very, very important day. So we're very fortunate. So.
We are, and it's a blast. We have great vendors. We have such great people. We do.
There's a lot of vendors. There's a lot of great vendors. And I would say just get to know the one that works best for you. And because they're not they're not all created equal.
No.
And you may be, sometimes brides come to me and they're far more, I'll say uptight would be a good word. And maybe that's not for me.
Yeah, but
Maybe it
there
is.
is someone for everyone. I say
It
that
is.
with photography. The best way to pick your photographer is to appreciate their artwork, because there's so many amazing photographers and we all love each other. We're all friends.
Yeah.
It is just, whose art would you pick in a museum if you were walking, or whose art do you put above your couch? Your wedding photographer should be the same way. You should choose them because you love the work they produce. And then when you meet them, you have to enjoy them as a person, because they are with you all day. And you want someone whose personality maybe feels like a good vibe with your personality, who cares about your wedding, who is going to sweat, get wet, get cold,
dirty. Yes.
give you pep talks when you're not wanting to get cold, wet, and sweaty. And because this day, like, you've prepped a year and a half, like, you want people who care as much as you do, right? And you can quickly know, like, the best way for me, actually, still to this day, is do a in-person bride consult. Yep. And you'll know quickly if that person's a good vibe match for you, right?
Absolutely.
And truly, I don't even know that the vendor would even be offended if you chose someone else, because probably they respect the other person's work as well. They probably like them as a person as well.
Yep.
And perhaps they weren't clicking with you either, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah. It's a two-way street. So
yeah. So
excellent. It's always fun to catch up with you, my friend.
Yes, and we'll probably see you very soon, because April's looking crazy already.
It is.
No, it
is wedding
That's
season.
why I did 2 weeks in Florida, because now I'm going to be busy.
Now you're back at her. So hang on while I say goodbye to these fine folks, all right?
Okay.
Well, there you have it. Another great pro that you should know. Reach out to Cindy June. You can find her on Facebook under Cindy June Photography. And, look for the guide, download the guide. And if you're watching this as a rerun, we ask that you like, subscribe, and follow so you can find out more great things that are happening here at Engagement. Until next time, have a great night.